What's good, Alex, man? How you doing, bro? How y'all doing? Definitely ready to cook up something this evening, man. With a few people to come in before I get started, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. That is definitely what's up, man. Okay, I see a few people coming in. What's good, Passport Bros? How y'all doing this evening? You know what I mean? So we gotta gear it up, man. We gotta have this conversation, man, because a lot of people not really, worried about the issues that a lot of black men in particular have with not paying child support, just the system itself and the environment it creates. You know, so um, tonight, I mean, I got a list of things that I want to talk about, and then kind of midway through, if anybody wants to come up, what I mean, just elaborate on a discussion or your personal experience, man. Um, I have to link available. So, what I mean, I'm going to start by sharing some conversations between men that differ in their opinion about child support. So, a lot of us know how a lot of women feel around the issue of child support. But then you do have men that kind of view um, their point through the lens of a woman. So I want to, go over those things, and then, I want guys to kind of give me their opinion on some of the things I read. So in one of our Facebook groups, we do have some people that are very, um, I would say, more sympathetic, to women when it comes to the issue of child support. And we'll kind of dig into those situations already. But anybody that's in the chat, what I mean, if you do have a child, or if you have been through the child support system, put a one. If not, put two. One, if you've been on child support or are on child support. Two, if you have not. I'm just curious out there. Um, so I'm gonna pull up some of at least three examples of some of the discussions that men differ on. Okay, okay. Been through the child support system. Okay. Um, was that through marriage, or I guess were all situations through marriage, or were there situations where you wasn't married? You know, I do want to bring that up too. I do see a slight difference with child support if you were married versus not. I'll put that as my last talking point. Well, I have noticed something. Let's see, some marital. Um, okay, bet. All right, so I'm gonna do three examples from Facebook. Some posts that I have put, and then I'm gonna read just some of the comments behind that. Because I really want to dissect the dissect the issue. And even though I know men, all men are different. We're not gonna all agree on everything, but I mean, we have to be on some accord with men in order to move this conversation forward. Because when you're trying to make legitimate arguments as men, then you got half men not supporting it. It's really gonna be hard to move the needle. Okay, okay. What's up, Bert? Big Bert. So have you been on the child support system or no? Just curious, just curious. All right. So this was the first. This is like a first post I made a while back. Um, I wrote, as soon as someone mentions something about child support, the first assumption is someone is trying to dodge responsibility. I don't need to be on child support to take care of my child. Women put men on child support on men that, yeah, women put child support on men that are not deadbeats. I don't need the government interfering with how I manage money. So that was one post I made. Um, and, a couple of people said, that's why I do not have one baby because I know how they roll out here today. They are unstable and vengeful. And what, women see this, a lot of times, they don't really know how men feel or what they say. Another comment, let me see, I said, I would like, another comment said, I would like to know my worst case scenario price up front. And then I mentioned most states, maximum is 20% of your income for one child. More than one can be up to 35% in some states. And then someone said, it's some variables that, at least in Maryland, time you have, time you have the minor child, you um, will count against you. Best to always have a family lawyer, someone specifically handles family law. And then I made a comment, kids gonna eat, that's a fixed cost. So is housing, transportation. However, unexpected expenses fluctuate your income. The only one custody can adjust, the only one with custody, the one with custody can adjust their spending on the child month to month. So the mother. So, both parents, what I mean, we both, let's say we're not together, we both have housing, we both have transportation, we both got to eat. And for the most part, those are fixed costs. We kind of know what we're going to spend each month. But the mother, depending on, if she overspends one month or have an unexpected bill, she can adjust what she does with the child. She can decide, well, I usually, let's just say I usually buy my child a pair of shoes every month, or we go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever the case may be. I usually buy a lot of more, high end, groceries, whatever the case may be. So she can adjust month to month based off of fluctuations, while a man can't. You know what I mean? And that's very important because if a woman, let's just say if a woman couldn't adjust her spending on her child, then she'll be more in a bind month to month. You know what I mean? And that's understandable. But men, but men are human too. You know what I mean? Men have fluctuations too. But the child support system doesn't accommodate for that. And then a lot of people, I never went through a modification, but a lot of people say even trying to get it lowered, it could take 3 to 6 months. And then I said, if money is tight for the custodial parent, they may cut expenses, exactly like number of haircuts a month, eating at restaurants and entertainment. But the parent on the child support can adjust their payments if money is tight. I already had a child, and some months um, I could send above what we agreed on. Yeah. So some months you probably could send more if you had to send less other months. But child support don't let you do that. You got to send a fixed amount. Um, let's see. Another comment. Let me tell y'all the craziest child support story. Years ago, my daughter's mom was successful in getting me to pay child support, and my daughter lived with me. Bullshit you not. I've had full custody of my daughter since age of 3, not 19. Now 19 in college. After maybe a year or two, I went back to court and they reversed it. Had her paying me. Not no money back though. The system is designed for scorned women, not deadbeat fathers. Fact. And then another man said, this is one reason why I do not have children. And to be honest with you, I'm seeing more and more young men saying that they're not going to um, have babies. You know what I mean? I am proud of the younger male generation because they are learning from men, you know, opposed to what I see with younger women. They tend they tend not to learn from older women mistakes. But young men seem like they're catching on. And then another guy said, "Yeah, guys act like these chicks not crazy and spiteful. Too much female influence in my life. That's really what it is. You know what I mean? It's too much female influence in a lot of men. You know, and sadly, the men that give the biggest pushback is the older men that have been, done seen it all, and at this point, you would expect that they can relate to most men. Versus, if I do have any kids, it will be out the state. Yeah, man, because the laws are more even-handed. The laws are more even-handed in other countries. I'm gonna get into that too. So this is another post. So I did a video talking with an attorney about South Africa, child support in South Africa. It's on my No Excuse channel. Actually, let me see if I can find a link real quick so I can share it in the group. But let me find it real quick. Why are you the landlord? Yes, you. Why aren't you? Okay. I'm gonna post that link so y'all could save it, check it out any other time in the future. I did a child support interviewed a family lawyer in South Africa just to kind of see what the differences were in in South Africa. So this was another post, a comment someone made on that video, and he said, "Good conversation. Don't agree with your position in general, but good conversation. One of the best parts of the conversation is that a lot of dudes operate under some illusion that there are no divorce courts or expectation that men feed their kids outside the U.S. One of my friends is an attorney at the divorce courts in Lagos, Nigeria, and he's more of a person that pushes back against men that complain about child support. He was also saying the main reason the courts in the U.S. get involved is not because women get spiteful. Mookie leaves Shaquana. Shaquana uses her insurance to get bypass. What do you say? Drop 50 number or or I guess drops Mike. She finds a new dude. Mookie get his ego bruised and starts playing games with money. Kids gotta eat, bruised ego or not. See, the problem that I have with this person is that he always insinuates that men get getting their feelings because they baby mama finds a new dude. Whereas what I've seen most of the time is usually the man that moves on. Because women move on quicker, but men end up finding stability. You know, so just just the fact that he brought up that example, what I mean, his lens is always that men are bitter because their baby mama moved on. He further went, whatever Shaquana spends on the support is her business. Money is fungible. The kid is fed, has school clothes, diapers changed, gets to school, and band practice. She is being a mother. Shaquana ain't living large with the amount most brothers pay in child support versus hard expense and time involved in taking care of the kid. Rent, lights, internet, food, clothes, uniforms, band fees, field trips, entertainment, vacation, pop seeing the world, and kid ain't supposed to have a vacation. Average payment is about 500 a month. That's not a rich get rich quick scheme. And I don't think no dude is saying that. I don't think no dude is saying that. seen it many times. Dudes either become sometime he was payments, give kids leftover crumbs, but at the crap table every weekend on the boat. But wanna, he said, extort the client to give him some, you know, some sex for the cash, even though it's over. No kid should have to suffer because pops had a bruised ego or prioritized crap table over kids that carries DNA. See, that was lens, his lens, through a woman's lens. He's speaking through the lens of a woman, you know, which makes me, question how he was raised or things like that. So my response was, I said, you're right. If it's a scenario where the mother isn't keeping the child from the father. However, my mother told me that she always wanted my father to be involved in our life. She didn't want to force him to pay child support. Part of me wished my mother would have put him on child support. Now, I'm gonna share something, personal, my personal thing, and I hope more people get to hear this. So, you know, and it took me to like close to my age to realize this. Yes, my mother did not put my father on child support, um, and I always, believed her when it came to that. She never believed that you should force a man to pay, to pay for his children. You know, I thought that was I thought that was admirable on her part. You know, but now when I got older and times when I struggled, I could have been, I kind of felt like, well, maybe if he did, even if he owed money at some point, that money would have came to us in some form, even in my adult life, my early adult life. But as I got older and I witnessed a couple of friends find out in their 30s and 40s that their biological father wasn't theirs, I started to wonder about, my personal situation, because I don't say always, but at some point I questioned if my father, the man that I known to be my father, was my real father just because of, my name was different. Um, my other siblings resemble his side of the family. I don't resemble his side of the family. So I had all these questions. So I kind of felt like maybe my mom didn't put him on child support because he would have had to take a DNA test. So that's usually what happens. Um, if a woman puts you on child support, I believe you have to take a DNA test. You know, so and I think a lot of women, 'cause like I said, I had a lot of friends in situations where they found out their father wasn't there. So I think um I think some women that don't put men on child support don't want to take that DNA test. What do y'all think about that? Let me know what y'all think about that. So I went on and said there are men who don't do more because the mother is rationing visitation with the child. Essentially, you have to please her in order to see your child. In my situation with my baby mom, my child support order was low, and she never went to get the order increased because if she did that, she knows I would have fought for more visitation and him being around me more, I would have had more influence over my son. She chose power over money. That's a thing that people don't want to talk about. They choose power over money sometimes. Because in my situation and in other women's situations, a guy may have, when she put him on child support, maybe he wasn't making a lot of money, and therefore the child support order was low. But she used that against him to not let him see his child. But she put him on child support, but she never tried to fight for an increase because she don't want to go back to court to revisit that visitation changes. So it's like some people will say, well, he should have. he should have initiated court, but then there's another argument where she wanted to increase the child support order. Why didn't she go to court? You know, overall, my concern is more about visitation and joint custody versus child support. I believe a woman shouldn't keep a man from his child, regardless if he's paying sufficient child support or not. And I do know some women that there are women that say, I don't care about the money, I just want you to come see your child. But it's far and few of those. Um, the the person that's on the side of women, he said kids should not be made a pawn. Kids should not be made a pawn by a woman when it comes to visitation, nor by the man when it comes to financially supporting the kid he made. If the parties cannot work it out, and often folks get into their feelings because it's love, I have no problem with the system stepping in. If we are honest, many of us in this group saw mom working 2 to 3 jobs, making ends meet, popped off somewhere living his best life. Yes, that did happen, but I don't believe that was the far majority of men, especially in this age now. I don't know the percentage of single mothers out here, but at least 50% of mothers are single. You know what I mean? So you can't tell me all these men that father these women are dead and dead. I refuse to believe that. Then he said, then scroll to the NFL draft. I like to thank God and my mama. Pops looking like Boo Boo at the sports bar. We're gonna talk about that too. Somebody like Shaquille O'Neal that had to give credit to his stepfather and kind of, make his father look like the bad guy most of his life. But nobody never asked about, his father's side. Great interview. Okay, this is something else. Um, okay, so that's one example. I'm gonna read one more example, and then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the comments real quick. Let me see if I got any comments right now. All right, fellas, how y'all doing? How y'all doing out there, man? If I got any questions, man, what y'all thoughts on anything I read so far? Do y'all agree, side, indifferent about what this person, kind of said, the opposition? Where is my post that I hope they didn't delete it? Let's see. Let's see. Where's my post at? What is my post at? Hopefully they didn't delete it. Let's see. Post on me. Oh man, did he delete the post? Come on, man. I hope he didn't delete the post. We had a post, man. We was going back and forth like a mud. And I think there was so much negative. There was so much negative commentary. The admin might have deleted it. Let me just check real quick. Man, he better not have deleted that quick. Let me see. All right, let me search real quick. I want to make sure that 'cause this one was real heated, so I definitely want to make sure that I could share this with y'all real quick. All right, cool. Yeah, man. So those who was on the stream a couple days ago, see, Alex said child support can be a busy slope, a slippery slope. Yeah. So yeah, you was on the other day, Alex. So I had posted the stream about what we did. What was that? Saturday. And I was like, are black women more brutal than slave masters? And then somebody said, Bash, American Black Women Session. Let's see. Let's see. Obviously, if someone agrees that I believe there's truth to this, but why give that sector of black women attention? I know that most feel like that, but we're spending more time talking about the undesirable ones who hate Kevin Samuels than the ones who actually listen. Do agree with his message and are improving. Brothers should have learned a lot, and amongst other things, it should be to look past low-level hyenas and appreciate the FBI women showing their worth. The hyenas are losers who focus on winners because they can't win themselves. All right, so this is a thread that kind of got a lot of attention. So the guy that disagrees says, what do you say? The slave master has won in this, even with the title, even with the title. Amazing, what a race! We've gone from Marcus, Malcolm, and Elijah to insanity. Folks have more passion over a manufactured YouTube persona than the devil who jailed you, denied you promotion, failed to hire you, pulled you over for expired tags, um, cost your car, followed you around Macy's, pushed crack to your father, sold you cars for 15% more than other white men with interest rates 50% or higher. The cancer has indeed um, metastasized. What a race. A mass therapy session is really in order if the actual state of black manhood. And then he said, "Happy Mother's Day." I'm sure y'all mothers cry. Unfortunately, many have obviously failed. A manufactured YouTube persona created for profit, which I disagree. Um, so there was some back and forth. I'm gonna try to get into the child support comment. Let's see. What did I do? Bear with me, please. It's a long period. I think I made a comment. I said the black woman has jailed. I said the black woman also has jailed, was denied a promotion, failed to hire us, keyed our cars, weaponized family court to our fathers, sold us out to be more like the white man. We have too many beta males raised by single mothers. Let's see, what was his response to that? So he was taking a position that it's impossible for black women to be a person. Let me see if any comments real quick. All right. So then he said, yeah, if folks are equating their mothers and mothers of their kids with their open enemies, then the race is defeated. Your mom is equivalent to the enemy. Your mom is equivalent to the enemy that hunted Ahmaud Arbery. Wow. Any sort of parallel to those devil warrant therapy. Also, have they closed the divorce courts in Latin America? I have become a recent fan of salsa, bachata. He's being sarcastic. It would be the case that the lyrics have no real life basis, but on the face, it does sound like Latin America is much of a romance utopia outside the spectrum where folks are digging in the barrio, aka trailer park, for financially strapped chicks with limited options to ego stroke their pay sales. So that was his argument, I guess, about brothers traveling. And I said, I think it's feminine to view life through a lens of a woman. Not saying that you are, but I see there are men that can never empathize with men. They have daddy issues and therefore empathize only with only women. I don't describe Latin America as a utopia. I am pro-black. American matriarchal culture is not my cup of tea. Black women from other countries are more desirable. And then his response was, hold on. Then his response was, if people, make sure y'all still with me. What up, Alex? Okay, I'm gonna continue reading this real quick. So he said, if people are butthurt because they have to pay child support and don't have as much money for their hookers, that's fine. Weaponized, if the honor system worked, we would still have the honor system. Unfortunately, too many deadbeat dads proved the honor system didn't work. Dudes living their best life in Sosua while their sons have jeans with hoes and no paper for school. But to equate court ordered child support to the murder of George Floyd is insanity and worth of counseling. Men pay for their children's upkeep by any means necessary. Otherwise, they should keep the babies in their nutsack. Men don't consume their time googling ways to avoid paying to feed their kids in country after country. I wonder if these dudes here kids have passports and are seeing the world along with their fathers, are being wined and dined like their fathers 304s. I wonder, moreover, if these fathers are telling the kids, I love you on a regular basis, and if the kids return the compliment. How many times a year dudes taking their kids to Punta Cana? The white man's supposed to pay to feed the kids, bro. And then I'm almost wrapped up. Then he said, if the foreign 304s are more desirable, the solution was easy. Dudes don't need to stick their DICK in American women without a condom. If they do, being a man entails paying the cost for the kids' upkeep without bitching about it. So now he's putting accountability on men needing to wear condoms. And so this was my rebuttal, and then I'll go to the comments. So my rebuttal was, and I kind of had a long one. If you think there's more deadbeat fathers than none, then you're completely false, bro. I've seen couples living together and the woman put her boyfriend on child support just as a precaution. She didn't even tell him. They lived in the same house, and he gets a letter. You got that woman Johnny Depp was with told him that no one would believe him because he's a man. Women can't be vicious. I've seen lots of men think highly of women until they get scorched, divorced, etc. It's disingenuous to take a child support discussion as if men don't want to financially support their children. Women verbally threaten men with child support as its punishment. How isn't that weaponization? When there's a system where the average rent and utilities could be $750 a month, you're a person that can make $15 an hour. You're paying 15% of your income for your children because custody goes to the mother. It's difficult to live a modest life while the mother who also could only make $15 an hour herself, she gets custody. She can pay $750 a month, and she got a monthly check and a yearly child tax credit, all because two broke people decided to have a baby. Men just have it harder. How can we build a community when two average people cannot coexist? We might as well have polygamy if only the top 10% of men can financially support children without being estranged. I see hard-working Mexican men and Mexican women. They can be poor but working together. Imagine if Mexican women decided to say, I can do bad all by myself, then leave their men and say the government can take their place. Those Mexican men would be on the street. All right, I'm gonna pause right there. Brother Alex, man, what's your thoughts, man?
Whoa, this is a loaded conversation. Oh my God. So, the brother that made the comment, did he say he had children, ever been married? Because he made a lot of comments. But
I don't think so.
And he
I
was
don't,
really simping towards the women's point of view. Uh,
I
leads
don't
me to
think he
believe
got
I don't
kids.
know if
I
he had
don't
any
think.
kids.
No, I don't think he got kids.
You can't speak from experience until you have children yourself. You can take somebody's side without having all the facts until you know both sides. What is the phrase? There's three sides to the truth: their side, your side, and then actually the truth. And
Right.
anybody that actually experiences the child support system know it's heavily weighted towards women.
Exactly.
So even in my situation, I was smart with my first ex-wife that I had three children by. And even before we went to court, every time I gave her money, I made her sign a receipt
Mm,
so that when we went into court, they couldn't say, well, you owe back arrears on child support before you even get started.
mm.
The judge was about to say, well, this is how much you should owe. I have my attorney hand her a stack of freaking receipts from the time we split up until our divorce hearing. Every time I gave her money, she signed a receipt for it. I wasn't dumb enough just to hand her money and walk away.
Mm.
And there's situations like you just said, a boyfriend and girlfriend living together. You're taking care of that child like you're supposed to as a man.
Right.
But in the eyes of the court, no, you're not if you don't have proof. And paying rent is not proof. That money has to go directly to her in her care for her to spend the money towards however she wants in support of that child.
Mm.
So you can be sued and having arrears, even though you lived in the same household
Right.
as your child and that woman because you were not married. Women are sneaky. They use those rules. Then they can go and get on welfare, have the county system come and sue you for child support while they're getting public assistance, SNAP, housing assistance, and everything else, able to go back to school, and you're stressed out having to pay that bill plus your bills as far as keeping a roof over your head and everything else. So
Exactly.
until you put yourself in that situation, there's no way you can speak on both sides of it. You're looking at it from a woman's point of view, and the way this man phrased everything, it sounds like he was raised by a woman.
Exactly.
And that woman was telling him every negative thing that his father wasn't doing. So then he keeps that in his mind and listen to other stories because he's simping of other women's situations because it's very rare to find a woman that don't have a child now. Go
Yeah.
figure. So then they have their own horror stories they're sharing with him as he's dating them. And it just perpetuates the story. Like I said, you know, um, it's ridiculous that somebody can make comments if they don't truly have an example of they had children and this is how they did it. And they all I paid my child support, best believe. I don't have any arrears.
Hmm.
My accounts are all closed. All my children are grown. You know, I kept it a 100 with my kids. I kept it 100 with my ex-wives and when it came to dealing with my children.
Right.
And I had plenty of time to spend with them. So there's not it, to tell you the truth, I think there's a statistic that says black fathers are some of the most loyal fathers there are.
I would agree.
This man is talking like black men as a whole were degenerates. But it takes two to lay down and make that baby.
Exactly.
When are you going to start blaming the woman for maybe not taking birth control that day? Maybe allowing that man to take the condom off because it felt better. There's other things that you can think of that can possibly happen. Maybe the damn condom broke.
Right.
You
And
know, that
there's so
man's
many.
being responsible toward his children, which in some cases he doesn't have a choice because she'll go get in on system in a minute, and he's next thing you know he's in front of the damn court system and the judge having to pay child support.
It's so many excuses, man, on contraceptives. All I heard women say, "Oh, I could gain weight." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
some say it's not 100%. Okay, condoms not 100%. You know,
Right.
and then somebody made a joke on a podcast yesterday. They said black women, the largest group of women that say they allergic to latex. You know,
Exactly.
and it's like dudes hold all the responsibility. You know,
And
when it comes
be
to
the
that.
first ones to scream foul when something happens and they get pregnant. Girl,
So
you know when your cycle is. You know when I can have sex with you, and you know when I can't have sex with you.
right.
If you know you're on your cycle, guess what? We're gonna have to abstain. You know, we can do some oral stuff, but the rhythm method is not guaranteed.
Nothing is guaranteed. I mean, I would say white people probably have just as much unprotected sex than black people, but white women do they prevent pregnancy, whether they use abortion more or they use birth control more. They prevent pregnancy until marriage. Most of them do. You know.
And nowadays, you got the day after pill too.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
that's right.
feel like
That's
you're
right.
getting pregnant, or you could possibly be pregnant.
You're right.
You'll take that day after pill, and it wipes it right out
I remember
without
being,
you having to wait to get an abortion.
I remember being with a girl, and I was just like, you know what I mean? Like we wanted to have unprotected sex, and we had this conversation beforehand. I'm like, would you be, would you have a problem taking the morning after pill? You know what I mean? And she was like,
Right.
no. She's like, no, we have a problem. We do the do. Smartly enough, I didn't like just bust up the club. I pulled out, but psychologically, I was like, you know what? I still want to get the pill because just in
Pop that
case.
pill the next morning. I'm not sure.
She was like, she changed her mind on taking the morning after pill. I'm like, come on. And she just like, I just don't feel, you know what I mean? But luckily she didn't come pregnant. But I was just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I could have really, I could have really played myself,
Yeah.
you know. Let's see, I had a comment real quick. Enhanced utility. Another thing that doesn't get talked about is that you're behind on your child support payments or your
Mm-hmm.
baby mama lies about not receiving child support payments. The state can void your passport. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that. So
Right.
that brings up something my baby mama father told me because he told me he was in the same, my baby mama treated him like her mom treated him. He said that he learned that the judge told him that men have to put themselves on child support to avoid
Yep.
that.
I was just watching something today about that.
Really?
Literally today. Yes. On this attorney advising you on different ways to prevent yourself from having huge sums of arrears payments for child support. He said the largest account that he had dealt with was 120K in arrears.
Wow.
Now, that man was actually present in that child's life for all that time, and they probably never got married, and she turned around and screwed him.
That's crazy. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. They don't teach this in school. So you telling me I
Hell
get a
no.
woman pregnant, we not
You might as well
together.
go turn yourself in, or at least go get blood work to prove that child is yours, and put yourself on the system. Don't give that woman no money unless you're getting a signed receipt. Period. I knew that when I was a kid. I'm not giving you a dime until you sign this receipt. This is how
Now,
much I'm giving you this week. Sign the receipt.
how do they, because I heard some courts used to say it's a gift.
That's why I said sign the receipt.
Okay.
You can't say, yeah, if you're giving cash to her with
Mhm.
no exchange of a receipt, which means it's a conscious effort to
Mhm.
keep track of the money that you're giving them for the purpose of taking care of your child,
Mhm.
then yes, it's a gift. Like she used to hit me up every once in a while and say, hey, I'm taking the kids to Disneyland. Do you want to contribute? I wound up kicking out $400 out.
Mhm.
That wasn't going towards my child support payment. But then when I have my kids on the weekend and I want to take them somewhere, do you think I can turn around and ask her the same thing? Hey, you want to kick in? I'm taking the kids to, SeaWorld. She looked at me like I was crazy. So then I started wising up on that. I said, oh, when you plan on going to Disneyland or whatever, such and such. I said, I'll go make an extra payment to child support.
Hmm.
That way they can keep it on record and I'm ahead of the game. That's how I kept my arrears payments so low. From whatever I owed when I had downtimes and I never went back to court. If
Mm-hmm.
I had lost my job and I was in between jobs, I still kept my payments the same
Mm-hmm.
way the whole time. And she knew it.
Right.
So she couldn't go back and say, well, you're making more money now. I said, but there was times where I didn't. And I never went back and tried to lower it. So let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Give me a chance to catch up
Mm-hmm.
so that we can continue down this road. You know what I mean? But yeah, you definitely have to be very busy. That's why they say marriage and a relationship is really a contract, a business arrangement.
It is. Yeah.
Because
Especially
the
you.
city, the government, they all have a racket in order to extort money from you for
Mm-hmm.
whatever situation. From divorce to child support to alimony, depending on how long you were with that woman, and if she was acclimated to living a certain lifestyle because of your income versus her not having any kind of job.
Right.
Oh, you will pay as a man, period.
Facts. Hold on. Enhanced Utility said, oh, he also said if you're a truck driver and you have a CDL, if you're behind on your child support, that can be taken, or even a business license. That is
Yeah,
that is
it can
crazy.
be, but the whole thing is if you're earning an income,
Mm-hmm.
they would be dumb to take your license because then they're just basically saying you can't go earn a living. So now how are you going to pay your child support? It's a threat, but it's a veil threat. Now, if you're making money as a CDL and you're not making any payments, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll hold your license until you make some type of payment towards what
Right.
you owe in arrears, and then they'll release your license again so you can go back and make money. But
Okay.
ultimately, to eliminate that license altogether and make you start from scratch, especially if that's your main source of income,
Mm-hmm.
they'll never do it.
Okay.
Yes, they have the right to do it, but they'll never do it. If that's your only source of income to pay them, they're screwing themselves because then you can turn around and say, I need support. I need to get on the system. I can't earn any money. You just took away my only livelihood.
So what do you say? So I get the arguments too. Like this, like the guy was saying that we get down to visitation, then it just comes down to like, well, if she's being that vindictive, you got to fight for your kids, and it's just like women make the same argument too. Like, well, if she this and that, instead of taking accountability, be like, yeah, she need to. That's not right. They like, well, you need to fight. So it's like, why do a man have to fight to see his kids? Every man don't have lawyer, lawyer money, and
Right.
then sometimes it could be not in your favor too. You could be in a different, you could be in a better financial situation, but maybe you still catching up on bills, on debts, or whatever the case may
Mhm.
be, and you decide to fight. Now she like, well, I'm gonna try to get more money out you out the situation. So
Right.
now you got to weigh whether do I shake up my situation versus taking a risk of being able to see my child more.
Right.
And men shouldn't even have to be forced to weigh that. You
Right.
know.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad I had children in the time zone that I had children in. There wasn't no social media like there is now. A lot of these dudes are telling on themselves by taking pictures for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all these things. You're taking pictures and telling them what you have and what you don't have. The
Right.
thing that you don't do when you're not with that woman at all is give them any kind of information on your resources,
Right.
because when they get mad at you, they will deplete every angle and every resource you have
Mm.
just to be spiteful, because then you can go and be with another girl. Why would they want you to do that? They want you to live a pure hell kind of life.
Mm.
So anything that you can put on Facebook, keep it to yourself,
Right.
especially nowadays. Don't Instagram. If you want to go take a trip, and why they would freeze your passport is if you had a huge amount of arrears, and here you are, get ready to spend 2-3 grand to go down to the DR for a couple weeks. But why aren't you putting that towards your arrears?
Right.
Bruh, I had a commission check. I'm gonna tell you this real story.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in medical supplies and pharmaceuticals,
Okay.
legal type. I
Okay.
won this contract for the state of California, and my commission on that was 175K.
Okay.
At the time, I think I was 10,000 in the arrears.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, and sometimes what they will do when you're in arrears is they'll put a lien on your bank account, your known bank account,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
whatever's in that account at the time, they will snatch that. Okay. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter how much is in there, they will snatch the amount they need in order to catch up on your arrears. Okay. And
Okay.
they just happen to hit my account
Uh-huh.
after that commission had been put in. Thank God I was only putting in like 5 to 10 grand a week until I got my full commission. I worked out a deal with my boss
Uh-huh.
because I knew what the bank laws were. He didn't want to cut me that $175,000 check at once anyway.
Uh-huh.
Too much taxes on his end. So I had him pay me about 8,000 a week until
Uh-huh.
he paid me all off. But they hit my account one week on a lien, and that lien goes in one time. So once the lien hits, if there's nothing in your account, they can't get anything. That lien doesn't hang around for the next time you put money in your account. It's this one time thing. It's either a hit or a miss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they hit and took 10 grand from me. I
Wow.
about lost my mind.
Wow.
I had to go down to child support services, explain to them what's going on. They knew my situation as far as I was in arrears, but at the same time, I'm making current payments and I
Mhm.
was paying towards my arrears. So I was already uh, paid up as
Uh-huh.
far as they were concerned, paying on the arrears while paying on my current child support. So they wound up returning the money,
Okay.
but they snatched all 10 grand.
Hmm.
So that's another story. Like he talks about, talking about child support payments and arrears. They will put a lien on any known account that you have every once in a while, like a net, and see if they can snatch any money that you have in those accounts.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a debt, and I got paid, and my check it was just gone. I was like, what's going on?
Right.
But they gave it back though because I had to,
You had to pay your bills. You
you
just
know.
took everything out of my bank account like I don't have any obligation to keep a roof over my head. Are you kidding me?
Let me read this comment real quick. According to economic estimates, black men $7 trillion of economic productivity due to child support and divorce over the past 50
Mhm.
years is one reason why I support brothers going overseas for a better life and outcome. The U.S. is not conducive for black men economic and social growth. No, I agree. It keeps us
Mhm.
poor. We don't have we don't get government assistance when it comes to a lot of things.
Mm-mm.
The closest thing we get in hard times is probably food stamps, but outside of that, you're not getting no help with utilities. You're not getting no help with cash assistance. You know,
Especially if you look like an able-bodied man. The social worker will look at you and like, go out there and get a job.
it's crazy, man.
Go out
So,
and get a job. You can do something out there.
so what's your thoughts about this? So, my situation, I mean, like I said, I was 19, I was 18 going on 19. I
Mm-hmm.
was going to college, broke college student, had a child. Um, I felt
Been
like
there.
I believed and my mother believed that me going to college was the best way for me to put myself in a better financial situation, not only for myself, but what I mean, to be able to support my child. Now, during those times, I'm not working, I'm living on financial aid. And myself and a lot of men, my child support was relatively low. It was like under $100 at the time.
Because they can only take so much from somebody that's on assistance through education.
Right,
So they were limited.
right. But like somebody else said, women child support, you can't get rich off of child support. So in people in similar situations where they had low child support orders, for whatever reason, they may have not been able to make the monthly payments. But in my situation, every time taxes came around, she got all her money.
Exactly.
She may have not got it every once a month for 12 months, but she got that lump sum at the end of the year.
Yep.
So when somebody says you're not paying child support, is that really, can they really say that if they're getting it if they're getting it let's say basically once a year, then getting it every month? Now, if it's like, I feel like if it's a substantial amount, let's say $1,000 a month, and that 1,000 makes a difference. But if it's like $100 a month, you know, in most situations, like, it's not, and you doing stuff like in my situation, my mom was helping, because she was like, he's in college. So,
Right.
so my mom would kind of do stuff for me. But so what do you think about that? If a person is catching up on their arrears every tax season, but monthly, I mean, they just don't have it's just hard to budget that,
Yeah. I got hit up the same way every year. Whatever I filed in taxes, she was going to snap up. So I wised up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
By law, you don't have to file taxes, but every 5 years.
Okay.
So I just stopped filing every year. Get me a couple years back after I pay my penalties, then you can have the rest of my check.
So why did you choose to do it like that?
At that point, it was me being a little vengeful.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I did have the money to pay my arrears in lump sum.
Okay.
I wanted to negotiate with her. If I'm going to pay you a lump sum, knowing damn well that my income was low and I never went back to court, I need, instead of me giving you $8,000, I need to be able to give you maybe 6.
Okay.
Cash today. But
Right.
before I give it to you, you got to go back and take me off of your arrears.
Okay.
She said no. Okay, I'll slow pay you till you die. I'm not gonna make it convenient anymore.
Now, did she do anything as far as visitation? Did she?
No. None of, like I said, I never had baby mama drama or anything like that when it came to that. It was
Okay.
always about money. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So as responsible as I was as a man, there's no way she could have played games with me, and she knew it, so she never bothered. You know what I mean? If it was my weekend to have the kids, my weekend to have the kids. I was so in a way that I had my own clothes for my kids, and I had 3 sons, all 2 years within each other. I would go pick them all up. I say, whatever you're gonna put them in, just put them in some sweats,
Uh-huh.
basic sweats. When they got to my house, they took them sweats off. I threw them in the wash. Go put these clothes on. I laid out on your beds. You're not gonna walk around looking like a stumble bum because that's what your mom sent over here.
Right.
And a lot of these women are spending more money on hair and keeping themselves up than they are actually spending on the child.
Oh, but they're gonna
So
say
now
that.
it's getting seriously ridiculous on how much money they're getting and how much actually gets applied towards the child. Well, keeping a roof over their head is enough reason for the court to give it to them.
But you know what kills me though? What kills me is that a man, whether he's paying monthly or annually or whatever the case may be, they'll create a narrative saying, you ain't paid child support. But most men, most I would say most men at some point catch up on their arrears. You know what I mean? So
They absolutely do.
They fulfill their debt.
Right.
But
you actually get a letter from the state saying you have no more back child support. Your arrears account is now closed. I showed my oldest son that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're going to be happy when you see this coming from a court system saying you don't owe any money. Now, that same child I had with my high school sweetheart,
mm-hmm.
I recently moved back to Kansas just to reestablish a relationship with his son and my granddaughter I had never met. Right. In the meantime, his mom wanted to have a conversation with me 30 years later. Want to have a conversation with me about child support
See,
and what I did or did not do.
see,
Now,
they
I
get,
was in the Marine Corps. Remember, I dropped out of college to go in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Marine Corps garnishes your check immediately when you have a child.
Okay.
She was pulling $253 a month. I had receipts of all my military check statements, and I kept them in a folder.
Okay.
In all the years, I would tell my son, I said, look, you're going to understand when you have kids, the stuff that I was going through with your mother. I'm not going to sit here and have to explain to you all the different lies she might have told you. You'll see for yourself. You know, I came home that same year that I won this contract, as the same year my son was going to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, hey, I'm going to buy you a car before you graduate. You know, his mom steady in his ear. Your dad ain't going to do what he said he's going to do. He ain't going to buy you a car. You know, constantly filling his head full of that. I came into town, which I typically come in from the military. I would come in during the holiday, right around Christmas, stay until New Year's. So the minute I got there, they already know, cough up my kid. You know, so when I was talking to him about him coming over, I said, are you ready? He goes, ready for what? I said, do you have some newspapers and some ads to say where the different cars are that you want to look at? No. Why not? Well, I didn't. Yeah, I know you didn't think I was going to do anything. But what did I tell you I was going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I always reinforce with my sons, even if I wasn't with them, your word means everything as a man. If you give your word to do something, you better damn follow through. Because sometimes that's all you're going to have is your word. And if you're known for somebody to give your word and you don't follow through on that, that's all you got.
Right.
Nobody else is going to trust you on anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, he came over to my house. We got in the car, started driving around to a couple car lots. He only wanted a Honda Civic or some kind of race car. I said, Alex, those cars get stolen. He's named after me. I said, those cars get stolen all the time. Mm-hmm. So while he's in the back of a lot looking at something, there's a Lexus LS 300 sitting there. So I looked at it, and the guy said he wanted like $9,000, but I'm a salesperson. He turned around and said they were having a terrible month, and it was right before the holidays. That's the wrong thing to tell me. You ain't getting this money like that. You know, so I asked him, can we drive? He goes, well, it's my partner's, and he's not here. I said, well, call him up and see if I can test drive his car. He might get a sale today. Let me drive it. Mm-hmm. So we backed it out, get ready to take it for a test drive. I yell at my son to come on, get in the back of the car. Mm-hmm. So he gets in the back of the car, you know, the salesman sitting next to me. We pull off the lot, started driving. He's looking around the car in the back like, damn, Dad, this is a nice car. He looked up front. He's like, oh, damn, it's got a cell phone in here, too. He goes, you buying this for you, Dad? I pulled over after we got down the street and said, you want to drive it? He looked at me like, what? I said, do you want to drive it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you going to let me drive it? Why not? It's going to be your car. He was lost. He was like, what the? But again, that's a man following through on what he says. If you can't do it, don't open your mouth to say you can.
Right.
You know, and even though that I had a mother that raised me, she raised me to be a man. I had mentors that were older men, either in the church or outside the church, that taught me different life skills. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So even though I was raised by a woman, I was mentored by men. You know, from martial arts training to boxing to knowing how to defend myself, you know, to knowing how to look out for certain things. You know, by the time I went to the Marine Corps, they couldn't do anything to me anyway because I was already a trained boxer and fighter. So Marine Corps boot camp is one of the hardest boot camps in the world, and I breezed through it by the training that I had as a kid as I was being brought up. Always in sports, always, you know, pretty straight and narrow, even though I was a bookworm, you know.
Before I forget, I wanted to say women get their money regardless in child support most of the time.
Right.
But men don't get their visitation regardless. So that's one thing that boggles my mind is that women that complain that they're not getting paid on time or how the frequency is, at the end of the day, they're gonna get their money, but you can't make up.
You can't make up the time that they play around with your visitation. So as a man, I would advise any man that's going through that to take them back to their or call their social worker and let them know she's not following through on her obligation. They will either fix that or start lowering how much you have to pay based on the fact that you don't have enough time with your children.
Right.
There's a formula for every day that you have that child for the woman to get paid for based on your income. And it also accounts for the time that you spend with that child as well as the father. And if you're not getting your reasonable amount of time that you're supposed to have with that child, you're not obligated to have to pay as much in child support. I found that out when I lived in California, and I gave my mom grandparents' rights to my son here in Kansas. So I wasn't getting to see my son. My mom occasionally would get to see my son. My mom would give the gifts that I wanted to give to him so that I didn't have to deal with his mother. It just kept it clean that way. Once the courts in Kansas realized I wasn't able to see my son for years, and the only person was seeing my son was my mother, they ended my obligation for support. Because I had been paying for almost 7 to 10 years and barely getting to see my son beside 2 weeks out of the year. And that was when I came home on leave, if I was allowed to come home on leave based on whatever the mission was or wherever I was in the world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I couldn't make it home. So I'm still holding true to my obligation and not getting to see my kid.
Right.
So after a while, they looked at that and said, we're done. You don't have to pay anymore, Mr. Foster. So boom, they cut me off. Now, she wasn't happy about that. I still got a kid. Yeah, but you really don't have the kid. Between your mom and my mom, they're the ones taking care of that kid more than you are. He was actually living with my mother for a while.
I see that a lot. Women collecting child
You
support.
running around doing whatever you want, and I had proof. My mom had proof, so that her mom had proof that she was just running the streets, doing whatever the hell she wanted, and they had my son the majority of the time. So with that and me not being able to see my kid, boom, they released me from my obligation of having to pay child support. They didn't take away my rights as a father.
Okay.
They just said, well, if she's not really taking care of the child, why are we paying her? That's very rare, but it happens.
Heavy stuff.
You got to stay consistent with the courts. You got to stay consistent with your payments. You have to be honest with them. I mean, trying to tell a story about what you can't do or you're not going to do, that leads nothing to a court system to make any kind of decision with. Like I said, your word is bond when it comes to a lot of things, even when it comes to government, business, and everything else. If they know you're a man of your word and you're going to follow through, like there's some times where I double paid on my child support. Okay. Because I knew I needed to catch up. And I let the social worker know I was always in contact with that social worker. So she didn't have a story on top of me that I didn't already talk to that social worker about. I'm not going to let you represent me on your behalf, on your narrative. She's going to get to know me for herself. She had my phone number.
Okay.
If she ever had a doubt on something, guess what? She gave me a call.
I'm gonna run through some of these questions with my list. So I did want to point out that child support really for men is really not about the money. It's about the ability to not be able to co-parent. So if I have to co-finance, because that's what child support is co-finance.
Child support to me is access to your child.
Right.
If you don't pay that money, you don't have access to your kid.
That's not
The hell with
right.
her. The hell with whatever she got to pay with. I don't get to see my kid if I don't give them that money.
And yeah, and they look at it and they look at it vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So if a man was in a situation where they was co-parenting, meaning decision making, visitation was fair amongst both of them, whether it's holidays or whatever the situation is, the visitation was fair.
Right.
A man would not have a problem with the amount of money he has to pay because
not at all.
Y'all are co-parenting, you know. But once you take co-parenting out the equation, and you telling a rational man to say, you still got to pay, but you can't co-parent. That's what men have a problem with child support,
right?
You know, because it's like, why am I supporting a child that I can't see, nor is the government enforcing when she's not allowing me to see? You know, I'm not going to go to child support the court every time we have a disagreement. What school we want him to go to? How I want to discipline? Like, don't nobody got time for that. You know,
right.
So that is the issue men have with child support. Let me see another comment real quick. I believe it's about stripping privileged child access and beyond.
Mm-hmm. It is. Absolutely is.
Another thing that
let me say this real quick, bro. Mm-hmm. The key phrase in that is a responsible man wanting to see their child. Right. Now, there's a lot of women out here that have all these nightmare stories, but they were dealing with irresponsible young boys. Pookie and Ray Ray's on the corner. They got pregnant by. They don't want to hold to their obligations because they're irresponsible boys, not men. Men understand they have a responsibility and they're going to go and do what they need to do in order to take care of that responsibility. All these other nightmare stories is because of your poor choice. Your poor choice to have a child with somebody that was irresponsible from the jump, that you didn't and couldn't guarantee that he was going to be around to have that child. Your irresponsibility for once you found out you were pregnant, not realizing who you were dealing with, and instead of terminating that pregnancy, you went ahead and had that child in order to try to lock that dude down. It goes both ways.
To be honest, you know, I think a lot of women bank on getting pregnant by Pookie or Ray Ray because they already go into the situation assuming that you ain't gonna be shit. And then when they realize, like, oh shit, he actually trying. You know what I mean? That's not, a lot of them unconsciously didn't sign up for that. They was like, okay, I just thought he was just gonna be dumb enough to get me pregnant and disappear. He ain't gonna be shit no way, and disappear. You know, so I feel like that in my situation. She probably didn't think, okay, no, he's trying to go to college, he's trying to do something about it, you know, with himself. He wants to be involved. This is not the person that I thought. You know, I mean, this is not who I want.
See, here's the thing. You were in college, right? And I'm going to tell you a story. You were in college, right?
Yeah.
What was your major?
Chemistry.
Bruh, that was the setup. Same thing happened to me. My major was architecture.
Okay.
So her family knew by the time I graduated, it's going to be bank. Lock that nigga down before he gets to college. Mm-hmm. And KU was known to be a party school, Kansas University. So obviously there's going to be a lot of girls around. Lock that nigga down before he leaves. Sure enough, that's what happened. The year I was supposed to go to my first year of school in KU, and that school was hard to get into. They only accept 155 students a year into that master's program because it is a 5-year master's program. You get in, you don't come out until you actually have your architectural degree as a master.
Okay.
So the minute I got them pregnant, you know, her mom was a single mom, 2 daughters. She had bridal books all over the damn house. because they knew I was traditional in the way that I wanted to marry a woman if I got her pregnant. They got that out of me. I was a Christian man. So, of course, my word is bond. And sure, they were going to try to hold me to it. Their only mistake is she didn't want to get married because she didn't like my mother. How juvenile is this woman? To think that my mother would have some kind of input in my life as a grown man. Me going away. And here's the thing. After I went into the Marine Corps boot camp, I came out. I was going to be stationed in California. I still proposed to her. She said, no, I don't want your mother as my mother-in-law. Cool. Wow. That left me out of my obligation and my word. That actually came up 30 years later in the conversation I had with her, with my son sitting in the room. I said, did I or did I not ask you to marry me? Stupidly, she said the same thing in front of my son. Yes, but I didn't want your mom as my mother-in-law. My son looked at me. I said, see.
Now guess what my baby moms told her.
What?
She told her that just because y'all have a baby together don't mean y'all gotta be married.
Exactly.
She wanted her daughter, because we were both young. She wanted her daughter to be able to and live her life. While I was always at a thought of that if you get somebody pregnant, you're supposed to marry.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
we had those same traditional values between the both of us.
And the family was like, you don't have, just because y'all had a baby together don't mean that y'all don't mean that y'all gotta be married. But how could you say that though? You don't know. You know, I mean, we could have been better off. I told my baby mama once my son became an adult, I said, you know what? We both been unmarried the whole time he was to adult. We could have been married and divorced when he was
a life. Could have been married and built a whole life together.
Right. But if we wanted to split, we could at least split after he became an adult.
Exactly.
You know, because we wasn't married. You know what I mean? We single, unmarried, having sex with people, putting yourself at risk of possibly catching something or having another baby. We could have just
KSA. Kevin Samuels would ask women all the time. That man you had that baby by, why didn't you get married to him?
He said that
all the time.
He said that's your first husband.
Right.
He's like, that's husband. The man you had a baby with, that was husband one or number two. But yeah,
right.
You know, so
you gave your number one thing that you had as a prize to them, your womb. Why don't you get married? And they would come up with, oh, I was young and I wasn't really thinking and every excuse in the world of why they did not get married to that first man. And of course, they blame us every time. Oh, he was irresponsible. And you could have been the most responsible young man in the world at that time.
And they could have got benefits, because if I was married to my baby moms, I worked for the government.
Right.
I own I own real estate. If we was divorced right now, if something that happened to me, she would still be entitled to things just because we was married.
Right.
I could hit the lottery and she could possibly say we was married for 18 years.
Common law marriage.
I'm going to take him to court. Mm-hmm. He just won a lottery. But we was never married. She don't even have a leg to stand on just because.
Not unless you put her name on those documents. It would all go to your son or daughter.
Yeah. So
marriage benefits. That's what happened with my brother when my brother was shot and killed. His whole estate and everything that we did to sue went to my nephew. So yeah, if you're not married and his mom and my brother were together, but they weren't boyfriend, they were just boyfriend and girlfriend. They never got married. So his whole estate doesn't come to me, doesn't go to my mother. It went to his son.
If I had a daughter and she got pregnant, I would highly advise that young man, you better marry my daughter. I don't care.
Shotgun weddings are there for a reason.
I don't care what y'all do afterwards because I
You're
know
gonna try. You're gonna try.
right. Because I know in the event that don't work out, I know my daughter is gonna have some benefit or can have some benefit if you benefit in the future, even if y'all divorced because y'all was married. You know.
Like I said, marriage is a business arrangement. It has nothing to do with the fairy tale, like Kevin Samuel says, of Disneyland and love and happy ever after. It's work to be in a marriage, compromise and everything else. To me, you should be able to be cordial to each other, but not necessarily in love. That comes over time of y'all building together, failing and working through different situations. Then you feel that stronger bond that you have that you could say you're in love.
Right.
But other than that, it's duty, like this brother just said.
You're right.
You have an obligation to that child now. It's not about me and it's not about you. It's about that kid that we brought onto this earth.
Right.
Everything is focused on them.
Exactly. Men just psychologically, we understand a code. We understand an agreement.
Right.
We can make an agreement. We can be married to a woman. We could be married to a woman and check out and still go to work, still provide. Yep. And some even check out of sexually, but still would provide the role as a provider.
That was my second marriage. Seriously. I had to check out and tell her, and that was my stepson. So even when Kevin Samuels talked about it doesn't pay to be a stepfather, he's absolutely right. It does not pay. Your resources are being depleted by some other child that's not yours.
Right. Right.
And at the end of the day, whether he gives you respect or not, what can you do? This young man wanted me to adopt him. I said, no, I wouldn't want my son's stepfather to try to adopt them from me.
Exactly.
I wouldn't do that to you. I helped reestablish a relationship with his father. From the time I met him, he was 8 years old, put him through Pop Warner, filmed all his games, would send all the game film back to his dad for him to watch and start getting proud of having a son. Then they started talking, never detracted from his dad. But at the same time, once I divorced his mom, I ain't heard from that kid in like 3 years. Wow. So it does not pay to put your resources behind another child from a woman that you're marrying into. It really does not pay. Especially if you don't have the understanding that I'm going to correct them the way I see fit as raising a man. You know what I mean? You're a woman. You're going to have sympathetic, nurturing needs as far as a mother to protect your son. As a man, I understand life is pain. We got to put up with a lot.
Yeah.
And don't nobody give a fuck about us but us.
They show it on Father's Day.
You can't put your problems on a woman. She can dump on you all day, every night. If you try to say you have one kind of problem, stop whining. Be a man. Anything like that. Like, you aren't entitled to have feelings. You're supposed to be a robot, earning money for them, taking care of them, providing for them, protecting them, gimme. And then it's not reciprocal. After a while, that wears out. Wife number 2. But she made it at least 9.5 years. I knew to cut it off before 10.
Preach, fellas. What up, David?
What's up, Dave?
So I got a list. So I'm on like point number 3. I got like 15 points.
God. Let me shut up then. Go ahead.
Let me see. So one thing I wanted to say was that baby mamas benefit from baby showers. So men don't benefit from baby showers. So a lot of women come in the gate with child support. You got, obviously most of the time the father, if there's a baby shower, he'll get something for the baby shower. But they get gifts and things like that. So they come in the door, with support. you know, and some may say, well, it's helping both of y'all out. But if I'm paying child support, you know, what she's getting from her friends or family, that's something that she don't have to do maybe for the first several months or even year, you know, depending on how much you get from a baby shower. So baby showers benefit mothers. Yes, R.I.P. Godfather Samuels. Man, yeah, rest in peace, brother. As Fritchie said, in the past, as a stepfather, you had disciplinary access, the ability to counsel. These days, not so anymore. Yeah.
I wouldn't agree with that. It's an understanding, and I'm telling you, as a man, you have to have an understanding with the woman you're going to be around with a child. You need to nip that shit in the butt real fucking fast. You understand? That means get an understanding of who you are as a man, what your expectations are, and get her to flip and agree to it. And if she can't agree to it and hold to her word, then you walk the fuck away. But there is no way I'm going to waste my resources, my time as a man, on a child that I don't have the say on how to raise him as a man from a woman's perspective. Hell no. My stepson tried that one time. I said, look, you got one chance. He called me Alex one time after calling me dad the whole time he ever met me. Dad. He tried to call me Alex. I said, look, play with me if you want to. You going to call me dad or you're going to call me Alex, but you better choose right now. He stuck to the dad. But I don't play that.
Right.
And as a man, you shouldn't allow that. That's where that beta stuff comes in, where you need to be an alpha male.
Yeah.
If you're going to mark your territory, you need to mark 100% of it. There is no exclusion and nothing off limits to talk about. Get that understanding right up front. And most women are going to bow down to it because they want an assertive man. If you sound weak about how you're asking, don't ask, because it's going to come out wrong.
Facts. So another, I wanted to talk about two examples of how I've seen people abuse the child support system, and we already alluded to it, but I'll state it again. So it was this, I'm aware of a situation where a homie of mine, he was living with his girlfriend, and you know they had a child together. She's living with him. He's paying all the bills. You know, I mean, they basically one big family. They just not married, living together. Right. Her mom, sister put stuff in her ear like, you know, you need to put them on child support just in case y'all break up or something. And so he going about his day, and he get a surprise letter in the mail from the child support, and he look at her like what's going on? And she like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just doing this out of precaution. So you living in my house. We raising our child together.
Right.
But you got a 9 to 5 too. But now you are putting me in a situation where I'm paying you child support and we living together with our child. And it's like what, you know what I mean? Like to me, that's abusive. I don't see no rationale behind that. And then the other
women don't feel one bit bad about it either.
They don't. They don't. Yeah, man. David said Alex or dad. Yeah, that hits hard. Yeah. Yeah,
These
man.
are all real stories. I'm not making up anything. These are real stories of different situations I went through as far as raising 4 young men. Actually 5 with my stepson. I had all boys. And none of them in jail, all very respectful, all grown. My oldest is 35 and he has 2 grandchildren. Got married before he had his first kid.
That's good. I got another example. My baby mama's father, you know what I mean, he told me that he was in the same situation that I was with his daughter with her mom. And then he had the situation where he was in military too. They both met in the military. They divorced. He was sending her money. He said he was writing checks, and I believe he told me he put child support on the checks. So you know what I mean. So he ended up going. She ended up taking them to court for back child support. The
Oh
judge
shit.
said the judge said it was gifts, and that he should have put himself on child support. And so he basically said he was forced to pay double because he already
He
paid
had
the
to
child
catch up.
support. So that is a crazy loophole.
He's lucky the military didn't get a hold of it. But what happens is once you actually get assigned child support,
Mhm.
they will petition the whatever branch you're in
Mhm.
to garnish your check. And once that hits payroll, they're going to start asking you questions like, "What's going on? How come you didn't let us know about this?"
Mm.
Because if the military wanted you to have a kid or a woman, like a wife, they would have issued you one, is what they say.
Mm.
You're 100% responsible for anything you do outside of the military by them. So they automatically will garnish your check. Now, the fact that you have a dependent, you're going to get a little bit more for your check. So pretty much 100% of whatever you're getting extra going to that child. And then you pay the difference if it's more than that you hold as an obligation towards your child.
Wow.
Yeah.
See,
They
these
don't play
conversations.
around in the military. Once you sign that contract,
Uh-huh.
you theirs. So the minute they find out you're doing something funny, oh, they're going to take care of it for you. You might not like it,
Right.
but they're going to take care of it for you.
My I'll touch on my personal experience. I'll come back to that. But next I want to kind of talk about enforcement laws abroad. So since a lot of brothers are checking out of the U.S. and want to explore options overseas, start families, things of that nature. There has been research on enforcement laws. So what the U.S. has, so I would say pretty much every country has some sort of child support system. Some countries women just don't bother because of the economic situations. They just know that it's not. Yeah, I mean they just don't have the infrastructure, the computer work, and some of these countries they don't even have physical addresses to serve somebody. So unless you marry and you get a divorce, outside of that, there's probably won't be a formal way of a child support. But on the books, most countries, I would say pretty much every country has something on the books with child support.
Don't
What
go back and see her. You go back and see her and step in that country one time and she can actually grab you, you lock down.
That's sound like Costa Rica, but But when it comes to enforcement laws abroad, so there is a treaty called the Hague Convention. So
I've
the
heard of
Hague
it.
Convention has different treaties. Some is with child support. Some is with getting married, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But the Hague Convention has different treaties, but they don't have the same treaties with different countries. It just depends on what the subject is. So when it's like for child support, the U.S. has enforcement agreements with pretty much most of Europe, Australia, Canada, and in Latin America, the only one they have one with is Brazil. So you got Brazil in the Americas, then you got pretty much most of Europe, Canada, Australia. There's no Asian countries.
Really?
There's no
Because there's
there's
a
no
lot of brothers getting Filipino chicks pregnant when I was in the military. They had to work some out
No,
to
I mean they
get,
got child support in
yeah,
the Philippines, but it's not.
not
They dealing with the
regulated in this
Philippines.
contract.
They dealing. Most of the time they either living there or they got to take care of this situation before they leave. Before they
Mm-hmm.
leave the Philippines, but the enforcement part come if you're an American citizen is like whether it's your passport, um, money coming out your check. Like countries, most countries in Latin America, they can't legally they can't go to a state and force the state to withhold money to send back. But the countries that got the treaties, like Brazil, for example, and pretty much all the European countries, you got a couple first world countries like Singapore and Japan and South Korea. Those are the main, and Taiwan. Those are the other first world countries: Singapore, Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. But outside of those, they don't have the enforcement. So if you had children and you was on, let's say if you was on some type of child support in any other country, depending on your financial situation, if you got behind or whatever the case may be, you won't have to worry about being hindered by your passport or something being leaned or garnished on. And it puts you in a mother in a situation where y'all could work through those things, because like I said, most men want to be able to support their children, whether together or not. Now, yes, some men do try to be vindictive, and if she moved on, or if the man feel like he not in control, he may leverage payments. But that's I feel like that's the minority group of men. The majority group of men want to see their children, want to be able to support their children, and want to be able to make decisions with their children. So that's kind of what we're looking at abroad. So
my thing is, if you're going abroad to meet a woman and you hit it off with this chick and she winds up getting pregnant, what's stopping you from getting married? You're going to have a better situation in that country anyway.
Yeah.
Pack your shit, move to that country, get married to that woman that you know is going to take care of you and raise your daughter, right? So you have some input in that.
Right.
And become a digital nomad. Right. Work in the United States, earn your money in the United States, and have a happy family.
Right.
Because they're not going to be like our American women are when they're stressing you out about child support and anything else. If you stay there, they're going to be living in a lap of luxury just on the basis of what you already earn.
Yep.
So they're going to be happy as punch. A lot of retirement for women in other countries is to have a husband, because a lot of those countries don't have a retirement system. Your retirement system as a woman is to find a good man that's going to earn a living.
But that's what Kevin Samuel said, because women ain't got no retirement here. Most people ain't got no retirement.
No. So that's why he's saying you need two incomes. You better come off your high horse. You need another income to make it to retirement in the United States. You can get away with bloody murder overseas because of the exchange rate. At least while the dollar and the American dollar has the national presence that it has. Right. If that ever changes, then the story could change.
Or buy a house. See, my retirement is, I mean, I did work. I worked public service for a while, but I mean, my retirement is going to be my house or houses. Cash out.
That was one of my first advices to my clients in California. Mm-hmm. When you get to retirement age, or you get like around 50 and all your kids are out of the house, why are you keeping a 5-bedroom house in California for $750,000? Sell that house, move down south, put that money up that you don't spend on a new house, because you could probably pay off a $250,000 house, damn near the same size, in Texas or someplace like that, and bank the rest of it and put it in investments and live off it for the rest of your days. Be smart. You don't have to stay in California.
I'm gonna take it a little further. I'm gonna cash out. I'm gonna get a loan for another house, because I'm gonna put insurance on it when I die. The insurance will pay it off, because I'd rather die with that.
It's a decreasing life insurance policy. I sell them all the time. People don't know about them, but yeah, it definitely guarantees that whoever your significant other is, they don't have to worry about having to pay a house note, at least when you pass away.
But the problem with being on child support, and I bought my house after my son was grown, but when a lot of people, when they go through underwriting, the first thing they say is, do you owe arrears?
Right.
If you got
Child support
arrears,
is a big thing. You can't own a house.
you cannot own a house.
Right.
You
So it
cannot.
is a big deal once you come off of arrears for a lot of situations because it is a negative on your credit.
Even when they was doing the during the pandemic, even when they was giving out the PPP loans or the different funding, if
Mhm.
you owe child support, you could not get none of that funding. I
What?
was
Oh, the
like,
stimulus
wow.
checks, especially those stimulus checks. If you
Huh?
owe child support, it went to the mother.
Oh yeah, it was killing, brother.
100%. It went to the mothers. Yeah,
Killing,
my
brother.
goal is to buy a couple condos that are Airbnbs, one
Mhm.
in Cancun, maybe one in Thailand, right there by the beach, and live off of the income beside for the income I'm making on compensation through the military. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a lofty goal, but I mean it's not even a lofty goal. It's very attainable because the condo prices in Cancun are freaking ridiculous. I mean, 125 to 200K, you got a beachfront condo overlooking the water.
Mhm.
And those things stay busy because Cancun, 365 days a year, there's somebody traveling down there.
Wow,
That's
man.
my only business hint I'm giving y'all today for free.
And while we on the rear, so Bill Clinton, the Bill Clinton era was responsible for, you know, uh,
That man did a lot of negative shit.
reforming the child support system. But yeah, 2,500 in arrears, you know, basically put your passport on hold. Now for some men, like my child support, I was younger. And so my child support wasn't that much, so it would have taken a long time for me to be behind 2,500. But
Mm-hmm.
people that's paying like 500, 750, 1,000, 1,500,
It racks up real fast.
3 months,
Best believe.
passport gone. 3 months, and that's probably why a lot of brothers are frustrated because they tired of dating in America. They behind on child support, so they can't travel. The women have an upper hand advantage because now they know you. They know you stuck with them, and so you just in a lose-lose situation. You know what I mean? So it's a mental prison, man. It's crazy. It's
Just
crazy.
like paying off a house in 15 years or whatever, 5 years, I would be doubling up on my child support payments as quickly as possible to get from underneath that. You know, every time you make a payment, make a double up, make a payment towards your arrears. Just to get it from underneath that. Because the minute you have that, I'm telling you, it's a gorilla off your back. Once you are paid up in arrears and you don't owe any more time, that monkey is off your back.
Yeah.
You feel so much, you can actually breathe a lot better. You have less stress in your life the minute you know that it's paid for. So the quicker you can get it done, as messy as it is, the better you're going to feel as a man.
And
Period. Because
I know.
you've taken care of your obligation,
Mhm.
you've done the right thing for your kid, and you can feel free to go out and do whatever you want, unabated.
Facts. Facts. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Like for me, it wasn't. For me, it was the visitation. The child support wasn't hard for me. It was the visitation.
Well, y'all in the same state?
We was in the same state, but then they moved to Georgia, so we was in different states. But I initiated the first. I initiated the first move because I had went out of state for college. So what I mean. So it was hard on. So it was the visitation was hard for me, but not the child support. Not the money aspect, but the fact that I couldn't see my son how I wanted to because
Right.
of child support. Which gives me to my next point. Child support gives women control over visitation. For example, if visitation is enforced, that means the fathers have more influence because if the courts enforce visitation, then that means that when he or she is with me, well, no, he or she can come with me regardless of how she feels. She can't control, if I make a decision on how I want to cut his hair or what clothes I want to put her on, she could bitch him on all she wants to, but I'm still seeing my child on a regular visitation because the court's going to force that. Right. So if visitation was enforced like that, we would have more influence in our children's lives, and us having more influence takes control away from women.
Correct.
They don't want that. So the family court fails us in that aspect of not enforcing visitation. So, and that's the whole, and it defeats the purpose of women having our babies, because they having our babies to be in control. And
Right.
and child support is a way to be in control. It's not about the for most women, child support is not about the money. They even admitted they're like I can't get rich off child support. It's not about the money. It's more about having control.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about having control. They know that child support keeps you from seeing your child, because if you don't pay them, then they can keep your child away, and you can't do nothing about it. Unless you ultimately fight for custody, which that's a difficult battle in itself.
You're right.
So next, I want to talk about consequences. If you don't with the child support enforcement, you go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said already, your credit is impacted, and your passport, and other things like liens and things of that nature. So it's consequences behind that, but there's no consequences if you can't see, if they deny you from seeing your child or alienate you from your child. There's no consequences. The only one that suffers is the child.
And you as the father, because you can't see him.
But then, you got other men that say, well, you should have used a condom.
Like I said, those are the men that don't have children.
Let's see, what's my next point? This is something I don't know if it was just unique to my situation, but it was a time where my son was younger. My baby mama thought I had got another woman pregnant, and she was like crying. She was bawling, like,
What's up, Chain Smoke?
She was like, "You gonna take it? That's gonna take away from our son. Me feeding another son." I'm just like, I was kind of surprised that she cared about that. You know what I mean? So it let me know that women. It made me kind of think that if I wanted to get back if I wanted to be vindictive to my baby mama, having another child would be a blow to her, because now my resources have to be split with another child.
Correct. And one child that she's not blood related to. Similar to us having to take care of a non-blood related stepson or child. We're not blood related to it, but we spend our resources for it.
Chain Smoker said, "Man, I'm terrified to have these kids." Yeah, man, be terrified, man.
Be cautious. Be very, very cautious. Believe me. Make sure you got the right one.
But yeah, but why would a woman be? Why would her ego be crushed by you having a child by another woman and you sharing your resources with another child?
You know how women talk right now. If we kiss or if you hit it just right, you're mine. You might as well move in. Bring your PlayStation over here. Where you going?
Mm-hmm.
They on your phone left and right. You know what I'm saying? So in that respect, they feel like you're their property, but they're not your property. They can still go out and do whatever the hell they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they got 5 different dudes on speed dial. They get horny. They can come and knock that down real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're one of those dudes that hit it just right, she don't want to see you with nobody else for the rest of your life. And if she does, it's all hate towards that other woman.
Now, part of me feel like, I never wanted to do this, but part of me felt like, man, maybe I should have just had multiple kids after her, because then now it's like that child support is going to be it's on. Most states only go up to a certain percentage. You know what I mean?
Right.
They cap it, so it's just like the first child may get the most, every other child it's whatever. You know what I mean? But you paying child support, and then now what this is what my baby mama feared, to be honest with you, was that she knew the type of man that I was, that I the love that I had for my son, and the passion I wanted to be a father. And she
Mm-hmm.
knew that if I had another child, and it was and I met a woman that wasn't vindictive as her, she knew I would pour into that child, because I wasn't able to pour into my child like I wanted to, you know.
Right.
And it wouldn't have, she couldn't punish me, because I would have got happiness from another child, even if it couldn't be my child. So part of me was like, you know what, if I maybe I should have got some other chicks pregnant, so I could have not went through, the pain of not being able to be there how I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I could have had other kids.
You could have used the other kids as leverage to the one that was giving you the hardest time.
Right, right. And then also my son would have been able to see the type of father that I am towards the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it wouldn't be no argument to say, oh, your daddy this or that, because it's like, how can she say that? And look at your brothers and sisters over here,
Right.
you know. So, part of me kind of wonder, if I should have did that, but I just didn't want to be in a situation where having, multiple kids and different households, and I can't be in one, but it did cross my mind. It did cross my mind. Something I was going to ask you, since you have four boys, was that if you have multiple kids, I learned that every kid has a personality. Like some kids are going to really love you, some kids may not love you as much. But sometimes if you have one kid, you don't know what their personality going to be like. So at least if you have multiple kids, at least one of them going to, adore you like how you probably imagine your kids to adore you. Because, a lot of times you can't predict personalities. So by you having four boys, um, do you think that was better for you instead of, let's say, having one child, as far as like different personalities?
Well, like I said, my oldest son was my high school sweetheart. My other three were by my first wife.
Okay.
They all have their own personalities of me.
Okay.
They are so similar to me, it's ridiculous, but they picked up certain things genetically or whatever, but they have certain traits I have. Not all of them have the same traits. Like my oldest son, he's very music inclined. He's gotten into that. He does music. He does a lot of different things. He looks the most like me, but shorter than me.
Mhm.
And then all the other ones favor my features or favor me in some way or fashion and picked up certain things that I do,
Mhm.
but they all are individuals. They all are individuals. All of them, I would say, have a common respect for me. As
Mhm.
a father, I'm not your best friend. I'm
Mhm.
your dad. I don't expect them to call me every day like a mother would call their sons every day or whatever
Right.
to
Right.
see what's going on. I put the root basis of what you should understand as a man in your life. If you want to call me and consult with me about something, I'll give you my input. At the end of the day, it's still your call. I don't expect to hear from my kids unless it's my birthday, their birthdays, or a holiday, or I'm going to visit them. My closest son is the one that's 35.
Right.
So he'll stop by, we'll go to the gun range, or we'll go do some things every once in a while. But he's got two kids to take care of too.
Right.
But see, women don't understand that. They want you to feel obligated to having to go by grandma's house or go by great grandma's house, you know, um, and let them see the kids. Men, we don't have that same drive to have to see our kids on a consistent basis once they're grown. We feel like we instilled the root of how they should believe, how they should act as men, and let them live their lives. They get stuck on something, boom, that's what we're there for. It's a different thing with boys. Now with girls, I'm sure it's different. You know, daddy's little girl don't ever stop until they get married, and you still daddy's girl. They're still daddy's girls. They want their fathers around more so sometimes than their mothers, because around when they get to teenage years, they get very argumentative with their mothers. So they need that father figure around, you know, as a shield. Really, they use the father as a shield against the mother and them not getting along and being catty towards each other. Can you imagine in a single woman's home when she has all girls, how wicked that place could be at certain times of the year?
Crazy.
Insanity.
Crazy. But I'm gonna have to wrap up. I'm gonna do a part 2 on Wednesday because I still got like 7 or 8 more talking points. But next Wednesday I'm gonna talk about how child support is essential for mothers to be single. So I'm gonna start that Wednesday night. So yeah, any closing thoughts before I end the stream?
I mean, with that whole thing with the child support, now, you know, the Supreme Court justices are looking to overthrow Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that, it ain't going to be so easy to get no abortions in a lot of states because they're already ready to do it. A lot of states are already trying to outlaw the day after pill. You can't take the day after pill. I forgot what state it was that just announced that they're going to try to ban you taking the day after pill. When the baby isn't even formed yet, they're still trying to take that option away from you.
I don't know about that. You know,
I'm serious, but yeah, I don't know about that either. But that's what they're trying to do.
No, I'm saying,
but I think the whole conspiracy behind this whole thing is like we talked about a couple of days ago. The white race is dying off.
Mm-hmm.
And where they thought abortion was legal was going to help them control us by us going out and getting more abortions than them.
Mm-hmm.
White people took advantage of it more.
Okay.
So they can excel in life. So now as the baby boomers drop off, the level of how many white people are going to be in the United States is going to drop off drastically. And the only way they can stop that is to allow pregnancy, not necessarily pregnancies, but abortions to be outlawed. We need to rebuild their authority in this country when it comes to their population.
I mean, I could see that. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I could respect it based if I'm in their shoes. I could respect it. It's a valid point. What is it? The birth rates are low, at an all-time low.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. But yeah, brother, man. Hopefully, you back around this time Wednesday, man.
I'll be back around. I ain't going nowhere.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I appreciate my Passport Bro community. We'll be back Wednesday to continue talking about, the abuse of child support.
You had a woman say you were selfish because you didn't want to have kids. Yeah, I would be laughing too.
Hey, no, yeah, you damn right. You damn right. We can be.
That's your choice.
We need to be selfish.
Yep.
But all right, bro.
Make wise decisions with wrapping up. Believe me.
All right, bro.
Talk to you later, bro.
All right.